So we've all seen it, right? That AI magic. You type in a few words and poof, this incredible image just appears. But then you try to actually use it for a business, for a real product, and the reality is, well, it's frustrating. What you ask for is almost never what you actually get. So today, we're going to break down how you get from that digital disaster to something you can actually use for commercial quality content.
I mean, look at this. This is the perfect example of the problem. You ask for something that sounds so simple, right? A candid photo of a hand with a ring. And what do you get? This. A hand with, I don't know, 7 fingers? And a ring that looks like it's melting off. That massive gap between what you ask for and what a professional needs, yeah, that's what we're going to fix today.
Okay, so here's the game plan. We're going to start with why AI gets things so spectacularly wrong. It's imperfect magic. Then we'll get into how to fight its bad habits with some advanced prompting techniques. After that, we'll show you how to assemble an AI dream team using different models. We'll even tackle the physics-defying challenge of reflections, scale it all up in an automated factory, and finally, we'll talk about what this all means for the new creative human in this AI-driven world.
All right, let's dive into our first section, AI's imperfect magic. This is where we really get into why AI's biggest screw-ups aren't just random bugs. They're actually clues. Clues that show us exactly where human expertise is still totally, absolutely essential.
And this gets to a really fundamental problem. Hands are just notoriously hard for AI, because the models lack what the source material calls precise physical structure prior knowledge. In other words, the AI doesn't really get what a hand is, the bones, the joints, how it all works. It's just mashing together bits and pieces from photos it's seen. And that's why just typing in a simple prompt is never, ever going to be enough.
So, what do we do about it? How do we fix this? Well, this is where we start fighting the AI's brain. And the key thing to realize here is you can't just have a polite conversation with the AI. Nope, you have to actively fight its natural instincts, its built-in bias to just spit out these generic, over-polished, stock photo-looking images. You know that authentic, candid iPhone look we all want? Well, to get that, you have to get hyper-specific. And here's the trick. You're not describing the thing, you're describing the photo of the thing. You got to use narrative language, call out specific camera angles like point of view to make it feel less staged, and demand that technical quality with terms like 8K and HDR to get that sharp, high-contrast look that our phones are so good at. And check this out. This table breaks it down perfectly. Just think of it like building a recipe. You start with your base ingredient, the core style, something like candid street photography. Then you add your high-tech spices, shot on iPhone 15 Pro, 8K. And finally, you choose how to serve it, the perspective, something like a low-angle shot to give it that spontaneous feel. This is how you really start to take control.
Okay, but all that's just half the battle. Here's the real secret sauce. The most powerful trick in the book isn't what you ask for, it's what you tell it not to do. This, my friends, is called a negative prompt. It's a command where you explicitly forbid certain things from showing up. So in a tool like Midjourney, which a lot of people use, you do this with a really simple command, -no. This becomes your #1 weapon for cleaning things up and getting the AI to stop doing what it thinks you want.
And here's exactly how you put it to work. On one hand, you've got the aesthetic stuff. You say, no professional, studio, photoshopped to get rid of that fake, glossy look. Then on the other hand, the technical side. You go right after those classic AI flaws we talked about. No deformed hands, no fused fingers, no blurry. This is how you surgically remove the junk. Okay, so you've got your prompting down, you're feeling good, but for that true professional grade quality, one tool just isn't going to cut it. Which brings us to our next section, assembling an AI dream team. Because honestly, relying on just one AI model, that's a total rookie mistake.
The way the pros do it is with what's called a hybrid pipeline. And the absolute best way to wrap your head around this is to think of it like a film crew. I mean, you wouldn't ask the director to also be the cinematographer and the special effects artist, right? No way. You hire specialists. It's the exact same idea here. So first on your crew, you need an art director. That's going to be a model like Midjourney. It is brilliant, absolutely brilliant at taking your creative, abstract ideas and setting the whole mood, the style, the environment. It's the one that paints the big picture.
Okay, next up, you need a cinematographer. This is your tech expert. And the source material points to something interesting, using a video model like Luma's Ray 3. Why? Well, it gives you better physical consistency for sure, but the real killer feature? It can generate video with 16-bit high dynamic range, or HDR. You just pull out a single frame and boom, you have way richer color than any normal image generator can give you. That is the secret to nailing that authentic iPhone HDR vibe. And last, but definitely not least, every crew needs a VFX artist for the really tricky stuff. This is where you bring in the heavy hitter, stable diffusion, with a special tool called ControlNet. This is non-negotiable for anything that needs precision. You know, fixing that 7-fingered hand we saw earlier, or getting a product placed perfectly on a model's wrist, this is the specialist you call for the impossible jobs.
And speaking of impossible jobs, let's talk about the final boss of AI image generation, the reflection problem. This is where we go beyond just making pretty pictures and get into the nitty-gritty of physics. And trust me, this is what exposes the deepest flaws in today's AI.
You see, the whole problem boils down to one simple, unavoidable fact. AI has no idea how physics works. None. It can't draw a believable reflection because it's not actually calculating how light bounces around a room. It's just guessing. It's trying to copy photos it's seen before, and 9 times out of 10, it guesses wrong.
And if you want to get really nerdy about it, the research shows it's actually a perception problem. Okay, think about it like this. To an AI, there's no difference between a shiny reflection on a car hood and an actual hole in the car hood. Seriously. To the AI, they're both just weird spots where the visual information is different. It can't tell the difference between an optical effect and a physical object blocking the view. And if it can't see the difference, there's no way it can draw it correctly.
So the fix is pretty technical, but here's the gold standard process using our VFX artist ControlNet. First, you generate your base image. Second, you mask out the exact spot where that reflective object needs to go. Third, and listen up, this is the most important part, you use a special guide, a depth map, to force the AI to understand the 3D shape of the surface. Finally, you prompt for the object and blend it in gently. This whole process is how you basically force the AI to respect the laws of physics.
Okay, so creating one perfect, beautiful image is awesome. But what if your business needs thousands? This is where we have to scale up. Welcome to the automated AI factory. We're not just artists anymore. We're building a production line. So here's what a real-world automated workflow actually looks like in practice. It all starts by automatically pulling topics from an RSS feed. Then a language model like GPT just writes the caption. Midjourney pumps out a bunch of image options. Those get sent to a super simple dashboard, like an Airtable, where a human just has to look and click Approve. Once that's done, the final image gets upscaled automatically. That's it. That's how you go from one image to thousands at scale.
So, after all that, what does this actually mean for us, for the creative people out there? That brings us to our final, big picture section, the new creative human. Because this tech isn't just changing our images, it's fundamentally redefining what it even means to be a creative professional.
And this, right here, is probably the most important takeaway of this whole thing. AI is not replacing the creative. It's creating a totally new, way more technical role, the AI pipeline architect. Your value isn't just in coming up with a cool idea anymore. It's in designing, building, and fine-tuning the complex machine that brings that idea to life 1,000,000 times over.
Which leaves us with one last kind of provocative question to chew on. As these tools get more and more powerful, is the future of creativity less about the craft of making a single piece of art and more about the engineering of building the machine that can make 1,000,000? It's a massive shift in thinking, and it's not coming in the future, it's happening right now.